here's my conclusion. Go back to Titus 2, and then we're going to quit, okay? Titus 2, verse 4, okay? If you can find it. It's, okay, 1 Timothy, Titus, here we go. Chapter 2, verse 4. And I want to apply this, okay? Don't merely be hearers of the word, but doers. It says, the older women were to admonish the young women to love their husbands, okay? So I'm the older woman, and I'm saying men are different. God made them different. They don't like to be alone. They need a helper. They need a helper that's suitable to them. And that helper that's suitable to them completes their lives. And so the man can do his gender-specific role and the woman can respond to it. Okay? So how do you do that? Here is my application of Titus 2:4. Grace-energized wives make 3 decisions. Now, if you're not married yet, you ought to write these down and pray that when the time comes, you'll make that decision. If you're married, this ought to be your gift to your husband. You know what you ought to say on this retreat sometime? Take him out while you're watching the kids at the ball field or at the lake and say, honey, number 1, I have decided that I will make you the number 1 most important human relationship of my life over all others, including my parents, my siblings, and even my dearest girlfriends. That you're going to be my number 1 relationship. That's what you were when you were dating. Remember, you drop anything for him. But after you get married, you don't drop much for him. Because it's easy for a husband not to become the number 1 relationship. So the first decision is a grace-energized wife that's a Titus 2 woman decides that they will, by God's grace, make their husband the number 1 most important human relationship. Not more important than God. Not to be worshipped. Not to be equal with the Lord. Not love Him as much as you love Jesus. But the number 1 human relationship. More than your parents, your siblings, or your friends. Number 2, grace-energized wives start seeking their husband's friendship and love ahead of all other human relationships, including their children. Wow. Did you know you spend so much of your life in those kids, they become your very best friends. You know their whole schedule. You ferry them everywhere. You buy most of their clothes. You talk to them all the time. You rarely see your husband. He's working all the time. And you become best friends with those kids. And your husband knows it. And that's what a lot of couples, when the kids move out, these 2 strangers live in this house. They hardly know each other. The husband was married to work and the wife was married to the kids. And there's a lot of 50-year-old divorces. Because these strangers, they don't have anything in common. The kids left. God says grace-energized wives start seeking their husband's friendship. I started a long time ago, a little list. I'm real simplistic. Every time I heard Bonnie say to anybody, oh, I wish, or I've always wanted, or I love, I would go, I'd listen, I'd say, what did you just say? And I'd run and write it down in my little book. I still have it, my day timer. This list of all the things. You know why? Because she's my friend. And I want to love her. I want to learn to love her and vice versa. Thirdly, not only decide you'll make your husband your number 1 most important human relationship, start seeking your husband's friendship and love above all others, but grace-energized wives finally begin to examine their lifestyle, looking at their schedules, and they see if they are intentionally being their husband's best friend by their schedule. You know what happens? Your husband comes home from work and he's so used to you doing all your stuff. He comes home and he starts doing all his stuff and he's out there, filling his shotgun shells, and all of a sudden he goes, oh, hi, what do you need? Nothing. I just wanted to be by you. Oh. What are you doing? I just want to spend time with you. Really? What has happened? And all of a sudden you enter by your schedule his world, his life. You intentionally find the things that show that you love him. And if you do that, you can be sure that you will become his best friend. And you are truly, emotionally, spiritually, and obediently loving your husband. Now, how did God invade the island of the Philistine Cretans? He said, older women, I deploy you as an army. Find the younger women in Christ and teach them to love their husbands. And when they do that, it's going to be so counter to the world that the unsaved people are going to look on. They're going to say, how does he always treat you that way? Unsaved people will tell you that. They'll say to the wives, does your husband always treat you that way? And he goes, uh-huh. And they'll go, why? And you can share your testimony in Christ. Say, God's grace energizes me to love Him that way. It's impossible any other way.